What is consciousness? A journey into the mind's deepest mystery. Have you ever stopped in the middle of an ordinary day, maybe while brushing your teeth or staring out the window, and suddenly been struck by the sheer strangeness of being alive? That voice in your head, the one reading these words right now, is what we call consciousness. It's the most familiar thing in the world, and yet when we try to pin it down, it becomes the greatest mystery in the universe. Today, we're going on an extraordinary journey together, not to distant galaxies or the depths of the ocean, but inward into the uncharted territory of our own minds. What is this thing we call consciousness? Why does it exist at all? And what does it mean for what we are? Let me start with a simple experiment. Look at your hand, really look at it. Notice how the light plays across the skin, the subtle variations in color, the way it moves when you will it to move. Now ask yourself, why is there someone experiencing this hand? Why is it all just happening in the dark, like a computer processing information without any awareness? This is what philosopher David Chalmers famously called the hard problem of consciousness. It's one thing to explain how the brain processes information, how it recognizes faces or solves math problems. But it's something else entirely to explain why and how there's an experience attached to all that processing. Why does it feel like something to be you? Think about the color red for a moment. Not just the wavelength of light that we call red, but your actual experience of redness. That rich, vibrant sensation that fills your mind when you see a ripe apple or a stop sign. Science can tell us exactly what's happening in our eyes and brains when we see red, but it can't explain why there's this accompanying inner experience. This mystery becomes even more fascinating when we consider that not everyone experiences consciousness in the same way. Some people have a condition called synesthesia where their senses blend together. They might see colors when they hear music or taste shapes. Others who are blind from birth dream in sounds and textures rather than images. And then there are the extraordinary cases of people who have survived near-death experience. Now, let's take a step back and consider consciousness from an evolutionary perspective. Why did consciousness emerge at all? Many organisms get along perfectly well without what we would recognize as conscious awareness. Plants respond to their environment in sophisticated ways. Bacteria navigate complex chemical landscapes, but somewhere along the evolutionary path, consciousness appeared. One compelling theory suggests that consciousness gave our ancestors a crucial survival advantage. Unlike simpler organisms that operate purely on instinct, conscious beings can imagine different futures, weigh alternatives, and make flexible decisions. A moth might fly into a flame by instinct, but a conscious human can see the danger and choose to avoid it. But here's where it gets really interesting. Some scientists and philosophers argue that consciousness might not be what we think it is at all. What if what we experience as our conscious self is actually more like a story our brain tells itself after the fact? Let me explain this with a famous experiment. Neuroscientists can now look at brain activity and predict what decision a person will make up to 7 seconds before the person themselves is aware of making that decision. Think about what that means. Your brain seems to make decisions before you. Your conscious self is aware of them. This doesn't necessarily mean we don't have free will, but it does suggest that our experience of making decisions might be more like watching a movie of ourselves than actually being in control. It's as if consciousness is the key of a company who thinks they're making all the decisions, when in reality most of the work is being done by employees several levels down. Now let's consider another fascinating aspect, the relationship between consciousness and the physical world. At the most fundamental level, everything in the universe is made up of particles following physical laws. But how does this give rise to conscious experience? How does the electrical activity of neurons create the taste of chocolate or the feeling of love? Some thinkers propose that consciousness might be a fundamental property of the universe, like space or time. This view, called panpsychism, suggests that some form of consciousness exists at all levels of reality, from the simplest particles to the most complex brains. It's a radical idea, but one that's gaining serious attention in scientific and philosophical circles. Let's turn now to altered states of consciousness. When we dream, our conscious experience changes dramatically. We accept impossible scenarios as real, time becomes fluid, and our sense of self can shift and change. Some researchers believe that dreaming gives us a glimpse of consciousness, operating without the usual constraints of waking reality. Similarly, people who meditate deeply or have taken psychedelic substances often report experiences where the normal boundaries of consciousness dissolve. They might feel a profound sense of connection with everything, or experience the complete disappearance of their usual sense of self. These experiences challenge our everyday assumptions about what consciousness is and how it works. This brings us to one of the most profound questions. Could consciousness exist without a physical brain? Cases of near-death experiences, where people report vivid conscious experiences when their brains show no activity, push at the boundaries of our understanding. While these cases are controversial, they raise important questions about the nature of consciousness and its relationship to the physical world. Now let's consider artificial intelligence. As machines become more sophisticated, we have to ask, could we create a machine that's truly conscious? If consciousness emerges from information processing, then perhaps, but if it requires something more, some special biological or quantum process we don't yet understand, then maybe not. This isn't just science fiction, it's a question with profound ethical implications. Similarly, if we ever encounter intelligent alien life, how would we know if it's truly conscious? Consciousness might take forms we can't even imagine, shaped by entirely different evolutionary paths and physical structures. As we near the end of our journey, I want to leave you with a final thought. Consciousness is just a scientific puzzle to be solved. It's the very ground of our being, the stage on which all our experiences play out. The fact that you can ponder these questions, that you can marvel at the mystery of your own existence. That might be the most astonishing thing of all. In our daily lives, we often take consciousness for granted. We get caught up in our thoughts and worries, and forget what an extraordinary phenomenon it is that we're aware at all. But every now and then, maybe when looking at a sunset, or holding a loved one's hand, or simply sitting quietly, we can touch that mystery directly. So the next time you find yourself lost in thought, take a moment to appreciate the miracle happening behind your eyes. The universe has somehow arranged itself in such a way that it can experience itself through you. However consciousness works, whatever it truly is, it's allowed the cosmos to wake up and begin to understand itself. And that, perhaps, is the most beautiful mystery of all. Stay curious.